Hey everyone, welcome to Queerly Recommended, the podcast where we recommend queer films, books, TV shows, and more. I'm Tara Scott, and I review sapphic fiction at the Lesbian Review and Smart Bitches Trashy Books. This week, I am recommending a sapphic rom-com novel.
And I'm Kris Bryant, a contemporary romance writer for Bold Strokes Books. This week, I'm recommending a sci-fi thriller film from 2023 that was recorded during the pandemic.
I thought nothing was recorded during the pandemic. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
To hear more about this.
Yes, I can't wait to tell you.
Just as always, thank you so much to the folks who support us through coffee or with our newsletter on Substack. Again, we have links to both in the show notes. I know I say this every time, but we are grateful for your support. And also just thank you to everyone who has reviewed or rated on the podcast apps. If you haven't done it yet and you are at all inclined, we would so appreciate it. We love you very much. And if you can just do one other thing to help spread the word, just please tell a friend about the show if you think they would be interested in the recommendations that we're making. Kris.
Yes.
What's new? Your team won.
Yes.
So my
team won the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, back to back, which has only been done a couple times ever in the history of football.
Mm-hmm.
But right after the parade, there was a mass shooting down at where the parade ended. So the parade ended at Union Station, which is like at approximately at 22nd Street. And my sister and I and her friend Jeff were at 18th. So we were not, thankfully, we were not there at the time. And here's the interesting thing. The temperature was amazing. It was like 65 degrees. Like that's just unbelievable weather. So I was all excited. I was like, you know what? By the time they actually get the players on stage, they do like a whole production and the general manager comes out and talks forever and the owner talks forever and all these people talk forever. I was like, it's a nice day. Maybe they want to go down to the end parade and wait for the guys to come on stage. Because the whole thing is usually like maybe an hour or so, but the football players don't actually get on stage until the last 15, 20 minutes. So I thought maybe we could walk down and just hang out there and see that because we haven't seen it yet. We've only ever done the parade route, just so we can go, woohoo, see all the buses going by and the trucks and the players and things like that. So that was my suggestion. But my sister and her friend, her BFF, had too much to drink. So they were like, we drank a lot. We need to find some food before this hits us. So after the parade was over from where we were, we actually went and had some lunch. Yeah. So it wasn't until, and because there's, I don't know if it's so many people or what the deal was, but cell reception was horrible down there. And we didn't know anything was happening until Jeff looked down at his phone and he's like, somebody brought a gun or something like that. And it's kind of like, that's ridiculous because it's such a feel-good occasion. And we didn't know the extent of it. We heard that there was a shooting, but we didn't know that it was a bunch of people got shot. A bunch of kids got shot. I think it was like 8 or 9 children got shot.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And 22 people got hurt. A lot of people got hurt, trampled. They were trampled.
Oh.
Yeah. So a lot of the injuries were everybody running for safety. And then we had one death.
Yeah, I know. So I was at home because it was a work day. And I was actually taking a break from work. So I was sitting on the couch in the living room. Sometimes if I've had like a lot of meetings back to back, I like to just go to a different space and let my brain sort of settle out again. And then so I think I was doing like even just Duolingo or something, and I get this text from Neil and he's like, "Hey, is Kris okay?" I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, there's a shooting at the parade." So I'm texting you right away, like, holy shit. And I'm guessing your phone blew up that day.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we got to a place where reception was available, like my phone there was a ton of missed calls, messages, you know, it was hard to keep up. So I tried to inform everybody, you know, as quickly as possible that we were okay. We weren't around any sort of danger. So what I found out on the news tonight before we're recording this, that they're trying to figure out if they should charge the 16 and 17-year-old as adults.
Oh, God.
And also if the parents should be charged as well. So, yeah.
Wow.
So it was, and they call them groups now. We don't use the word gangs. We call them groups. So it was a group
Okay.
fighting another group.
At the Super Bowl parade.
Right. It had just finished. Like they had the, you know, the last goodbye and people were starting to leave. And then that's when the shots were fired.
That's so terrible. Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
I'm so, I mean, I continue to be so relieved that you're okay, but it's just such a sad, horrible
Oh,
thing on what should have
yeah.
been nothing but a joyous occasion.
And so when I got home, I wanted to, you know, it was so overwhelming. It was everywhere. It was on TV. It was on, you know, on my phone. It was everywhere. People checking, which was great. But I kind of wanted to, I wanted something good. So I was like, I'm either going to watch the game over or I'm going to watch the parade that was televised, you know, just the good stuff. And I almost couldn't do that because everybody was like, this is the greatest day ever. It's beautiful. Everybody's happy. Look at, you know, how celebratory Kansas City is. And like, that was hard to hear, knowing that
Yeah.
they didn't know what was going to happen, you know, in a couple of hours. And I couldn't do that either. So I had to fast forward all the way to where the players went on stage. And I watched that and then I turned it off. Because, I still want it to be a positive experience and I will still go to every single one in the future.
Yes.
It won't deter me. And it also happened on Valentine's Day. So, I mean, that's my
I
favorite
know.
holiday. And it's just like, it just completely deflated me.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
But since then, you had a happy occurrence.
Yes. So my friend and fellow BSB writer, Christina Rivers, and her wife came to visit over the weekend.
Yay!
So yeah, it was so much fun. We ate all the food. I made them stay up till past 10 because they like to go to bed early. And I'm like, we'll have none of that here. Eyes open.
That's right. You're
Watch
on vacation.
TV. Yeah.
Get into
it. So I got to show them Kansas City. And then we were very productive. We edited. Both of us have books that are due and we're editing. And we got a room. That sounds funny. I didn't mean it like that. We were at the library and we got a room.
You're having an affair with Christina Rivers.
No!
Everyone heard it here first. It's all about words.
I do love her and I am her second wife, but yeah, so we got a room at the library where I actually wrote the whole book Catch at this library.
Oh, fun.
So we got a room there at the library and we like just banged out a bunch of work. Like even her wife was working on editing the book and then Christina was working on something and then I was editing my book. So it's like 2.5 hours went by so fast. And I was like, okay, we probably need to get some food because that's all we did was eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when people go to visit you, what is your favorite place to take them to in Kansas City? What's your favorite food place and what's your favorite non-food related place?
It depends on the person. That sounds weird, but like Christina and her wife are vegetarians. I mean, barbecue, Kansas City is barbecue. Like if you eat meat, I will take you to the best barbecue joints in town. Like if you love it, then I know where to take you. But if you are vegetarian, I'm struggling. We do have several like vegan and vegetarian restaurants, but also the ambiance. You know, you want to take them to a place that screams Kansas City and Union Station. Like I try to take every single person who comes here to Union Station. It is still an active train station. And they also have like the best restaurant. They have Harvey's, which is like open. Not even quite sure how to describe it, but it's really good food. And you get to people watch and you're inside, but it's huge. It's massive. Like the ceiling is like, you know, way up there. It's 3 stories high or 4 stories or whatever it is. And it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And they always do something like for Christmas, they had all these, like the Union Station Hall was just full of different Christmas things. You could get pictures taken with Santa, you could get pictures taken with snowmen, all these different things. And when they, let's see, when we had right before the Super Bowl, they had the whole Union Station was all Chiefs. And I have a ton of pictures. I'll actually send it to you. Maybe we can put one up of just the whole Chiefs, and you could take pictures with like displays of, with the offensive line or Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce or all of them. It was so much fun. So they really utilize the space well to attract tourists. And so I always try to take people there because it's really pretty.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So food wise, we did a crepe place. There's this one little restaurant. It does cater to a lot of vegetarians. It is called the Blue Bird Bistro. And we tried to go there, but they closed at 1. And it was like 1:04 or something like that. So they're like, we're sorry, we're closed. But we'll be fast. But no. So we just did like crepes and stuff and just like fun foods. So it was fun.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So if you're ever in Kansas City, let me know because I will tell you all the hot spots. Oh, and I got to show them Kansas City has built the very first women's professional soccer league stadium.
That's
women's,
cool.
Yeah. And we're called the Current, and it's like a teal color. And so I was waiting for it to get dark before I took them across the river, just so they could see. You go across this bridge, and then all of a sudden you see this huge teal stadium. They have lights underneath the seats, so it's all lit up all the time.
Cool.
It's beautiful. They were super excited about that. So, like I said, Kansas City is a sports town, and we have all the sports. We even got a professional women's volleyball team. Yeah. I know.
You got it all.
Yeah, we do. But we don't have basketball, but we have like college basketball, which is better. Let's be real. It's better than like professional basketball.
I can't speak to any of that.
No, I'm speaking a different language, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
Let's see. Well, KU is one of the best basketball teams and has been for years. So I'm just saying we have a lot of sports. And MU for football, you can't go wrong here.
Yeah, my knowledge of basketball dies in the 90s because I just remember being in high school and the Bulls and their big run. So yes, I watched the Michael Jordan documentary when it came out on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
I remember the Pistons being really popular when I was in grade school. And also that was super exciting because we lived right across the river from Detroit. Now you have all my sports knowledge. Hey, isn't that great?
Good job. And now you know a little bit more about the Chiefs because you know me. And I always talk about it and you glaze over like, okay, I'm just going to smile.
Well,
smile
I try
to
follow you. I do try to follow you. I just don't really know. I know more about the Chiefs than I ever have.
Thank you.
That's all I ask.
That's all I ask.
And then our exciting news, as you all know, we're both going to be at the GCLS conference this year in July, but we're actually going to be recording an episode there. Ooh. The format is going to be a surprise, so we're not telling you about that just yet. But if you are attending and you feel like starting to think about maybe like what's some questions I can ask Kris and Tara in person when they're in front of a microphone,
right?
You might
when they can't be edited. And GCLS is Golden Crown Literary Society, for those who don't know what GCLS stands for. So
we're going to record an episode while we're there, and then I think we're going to do some kind of recap when we've gotten back and we've had, a night or two of sleep to recover, because it sounds like not a lot of sleep happens there.
No, you don't sleep at all.
And it's peopling all day, every day. So we're going to sleep just enough so that we can hopefully coherently talk about what we've collectively experienced.
I'm excited because they had an event in Florida this weekend, and I missed it. Because I was busy with projects and I had guests, and I missed it. But I miss my friends fun. And I miss it. Yeah, it did. It looked super fun. I was a little jealous. Yeah. And I texted my friends saying that how much I missed them, and I couldn't wait to see them in Minneapolis.
I know. It's gonna be great.
Next. It is. It's gonna be great.
So, Kris, what have you been reading or watching lately?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So a new season of Love is Blind started, and I am hooked. Like Netflix dropped the first 6 episodes. I thought it was the whole season. I was super excited. I thought so, but no, they're doing that bullshit where you have to wait a
Wait,
week
for real?
and wait for, yes. So here's what you get. You get, that they meet in pods, but it's private. You don't get to see each other, but you have dates. You date for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then if you've found love with somebody, you ask them to marry you. And they either say yes or no, or they're interested in somebody else. You just never know. You're winging it. And so in this case, 5 couples got engaged.
That seems like quite a bit.
Well, it's usually anywhere from 4 to 6.
Yeah, okay.
So 5 was a good number. So there's 5 couples. I think one couple is adorable and I hope they make it. There is I hope I hope that they do make it. One, I think they're not even going to make it past the honeymoon stage, and that's where it kind of is now. So what happens is they like propose, and then the couples actually go on a honeymoon where they're gone for like, I don't know, 8 days or something. And I think I don't know if they're in the Dominican Republic. I'm not quite sure where they are this time. So they stay there and they get to see, they finally get to like hang out together as a couple. And then maybe sometimes they have sex, maybe they don't. We're not, you don't quite know. And then the next phase is that the people that they did not propose to, they somehow do like a mixer. And the people they didn't pick, they finally get to meet them.
What?
Yes. So
that's new this season, right?
Well, no, not really. It's just, it's not like it's just a big giant party. And it just so happens that, oh, look, there's Jessica. There's the person you didn't pick. And there's just one guy who's a total tool. And the person he picked is somebody who said she looked like well, okay. I don't know that you can talk about like what you look like. I don't know what the rules are, but she told him like somebody said that I look like a famous actress who has long, dark brown hair and blue eyes. And he's like, oh my God, you look like Megan Fox. And she goes, well, I've been told that. Okay. So anyway, so he picks her. And the whole time I thought he was going to pick the other girl because I thought she was better for him. But he said, like, this is so, why do I watch this? I believe in love. But he says, like, I like this person because I like to be 100% in charge and she will follow me type thing.
No, get out. Get out.
And where the other girl, it pushes him too much. She's like, he goes, I don't like that. So they got in a fight and then he ends up picking the other girl. Yeah. So, but I thought for sure he'd pick the one girl. They were better together. Because they're both kind of tools. And so this poor girl, so she says yes to him, but she really should have said yes to another guy. And he left. And I really, really liked him a lot. He was very, very, just very cool, nice, sweet. He had a mullet. Like, what? So I know. That's what I said. He was like really muscular. And he's like, well, people, think that just because I'm muscular, I'm stupid. And he's not. And it was just, he was just really sweet. And he's like, I love you. I'm so excited about this. And she's like, sorry, no, I'm picking the other guy. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So they're all coming back at some like mixer. I think it's just like a one night mixer. This is who they don't say it like this is who you didn't get, but those people will be into this thing. So it goes from like this nice romantic getaway. And then I don't know if those people if they're going to be there at that place, or if they have like a big get together when they go back to wherever town they're from. They all live in the same town.
Yeah.
Like it's a big metropolis. Yeah, it's gonna be a hot mess. I can't wait. So, but like I hope this one couple really makes it. And some people have made it. They're still together from this show. So I feel like
has anyone lasted since the first season? Because there were those 2 couples in the first season.
I haven't looked because in my head they are still together. Like I just have to have that hope, the feeling of hope that they did find love. Like how is this any different than like online dating? It's not.
Well, I think it's a little different in the sense that it's like all the conditions are bonkers. The production crew keeps them hammered the whole time.
Right.
They don't have access to their electronics. Like you're kind of doing it in
sort of.
I think you could say, how is this not unlike some of what happened in the Escaping Twin Flames documentary?
Well, okay, but there's
Uh,
still, I mean, it's still a show about love ultimately.
definitely. Definitely.
And they really promote it, whether they like try to pit people against each other. I feel like there's always going to be somebody who is the sweet side of it.
Yes.
And I think that there's a really sweet couple on it. And I really hope that they do survive.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been some seasons. I'm trying to think. I think it might have been season 3 where I was like, I'm pretty sure none of these couples.
You're
I
going to
don't
make me
think.
Google this shit afterwards. And I'm going to be very angry. Oh, you're
Well,
going to Google now, aren't
I'm
you?
gonna Google it now. How many couples are still together
No, I'm not
from
looking.
Love is Blind? God, it wanted me to look at The Bachelor. I'm like, absolutely not. Apparently, 8 couples
Look at that.
are
Only
still
8.
together. Only
But
8.
only, well, I
I
think
don't
that's
think I'd be saying
great.
only. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I think they should be
I think that's
proud. That's
amazing. Yeah.
according to Business Insider. Why does Business Insider
I love that couple right there.
have an art? I don't know these
Alexa and
people.
Brennan. Yeah, I liked them.
Oh, I was thinking a different season. It was not 3 because I don't remember them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so Cameron and Lauren are still together from the first season. That makes me very happy. I like them very
Hmm.
much. Matt, yeah,
Yeah, I
Barnett and
liked them.
Amber are still
Yeah.
together. I
Hmm.
liked them too, but I was not
They
sure they
were
were
a
going to
little, yeah,
last.
they were a little rough.
Yeah.
I think they were a little rough, but
But I think did anybody have
that's from season
kids?
3. I don't know.
No, it looks like neither of those two couples had kids. Okay, so okay, you know what? Season 2 I think is the season I was thinking of, and it skips
Mm.
directly to season 3 for people that are still together.
So it
So
looks
that
like it's gonna
tracks.
be, yeah. Mhm.
So maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it
don't think
can
it
work for
is.
some people.
I think it's sweet.
Good
I
for them.
see, I have even more hope. I
Maybe I need
hated
to go
him.
back and watch some of these. These people all look very cute.
They do. They do. And
Hmm.
like some of the like that at the reunion shows, like it's brutal. Some of them
Oh
are
yeah.
brutal to watch. But I think this
Hmm.
last one, like people who didn't survive were actually very cordial to one another up
Oh,
to a
that's
certain
good.
point. I mean, the season before this last one, I guess season 4, it was like brutal. Like it was just,
Mm.
oh God, a lot of
Mm.
shit talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what else?
And I'm still watching True Detective with I forgot, it's True Detective. Is it True Detective Night Country? True Detective Night Country with Jodie Foster. Still watching that.
Hmm.
It's like it's not gay, still not gay. I mean, I think we talked about it, maybe like her adopted daughter or her stepdaughter is
Hmm.
queer. But it's kind of weird seeing Jodie Foster play a straight person because it doesn't work for me.
Not
Isn't that weird?
anymore.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Like we've come too far. Like don't be straight. Don't
Yes.
play straight. Like it doesn't even I mean it kind of pushes the story forward a little bit because you understand more about her character, but also it's not necessary.
Well, yeah, like, did her character have to be straight?
Did her character have to have sex on a fucking dresser? I didn't need to see that.
Yeah, the only thing I know about that season, other than that Jodie Foster's in it, is that she has the most awkward sex scene with
Yeah, it
Christopher
was
Eccleston.
I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I was very uncomfortable.
yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
fair
Okay.
enough.
Is it still good?
It is still good. It actually got better. Like the first episode was real hard for me, and I was like, I don't know that I'm going to watch this. And then I watched
Hmm.
the second episode, and then it got a lot better. And so I don't know if it's the final episode that was aired last night. I haven't watched it or recorded it,
Hmm.
but that'll probably be what I watch after after this.
Nice.
But other than that, I was busy with company, so that's all I've been watching. What about you? What have you been watching and reading?
Fair. So there are 2 drag races happening right now.
Wow.
So I'm still watching Drag Race season 16. It's fine. I think the last time I talked about how there were some like heartbreaking and surprising people who were sent home.
Oh yeah.
Nothing since then has been surprising or heartbreaking. The people that were sent home just frankly, unfortunately, made sense. But I was watching the other night the most recent episode, and literally I'm watching it and I was thinking, when are they going to get Melissa McCarthy on this show? Like she should be on this show. I was like, "Oh, they probably can't get someone like her to actually be a judge because judging takes, like, a whole day." And then
Mm.
she's there as a special guest, and I was like,
Oh,
"I'm
you made it happen. Yeah,
psychic."
you made it happen.
I had no idea that she was on. So the judge that week was Adam Shankman. He's the director of Hairspray, and the reason he was on is that it's the Rusical episode, which because
Oh,
every
okay.
season there's a Rusical, and this one was like their send up of the Sound of Music. And so like the guy who did Hairspray did the choreography for this Rusical. So it's
Mm.
awesome. And he kind of shows up when he's going to teach them all the steps they have to learn. And they have to learn this in like a day. It's
Oh my
kind
gosh.
of like it's wild.
Mm-mm.
He says, "I'm really sorry. My assistant is late." And then his assistant shows up and it's like Melissa McCarthy with like a whole bunch of snacks and she's like spilling, like she knocked over an iced tea or something. And she at one point she's like, "Who wants a Baby Bell?" And she's throwing those little Baby Bell
Yeah.
cheeses at people. And it's so funny because it cuts to the queens who are like, "How am I supposed to focus on learning dance moves when Melissa McCarthy is
Mhm.
10 feet away staring at me?" Which, like, fair enough. They had no
Right.
warning about this. And so she didn't stick around for long, but at the end, she did. It was that same thing I told you about, like Charlize Theron in her
Mm.
episode. And I think this is so fucking smart that they are bringing A-listers on this
Mhm.
show that straight people love. Everybody loves Melissa McCarthy.
Oh, for sure.
But, like, having her speak about the importance of drag and what you're doing and keep fighting for, and she even shares her own story about how, like, before she was famous, she was a drag queen. She would go out to clubs in New York. She had this big old red
That's
wig. Her
amazing.
name was Miss Y because she went by Missy, not Melissa, which I think is just, like, the cutest name. But, like, I just love that A-listers are saying, "Yes, I will come on this show to preach the importance of drag, that it is an art, it is not a crime." And it just made my heart so happy. And also the fact
That's
that, like,
awesome.
literally, I'm like, "When's she gonna be on the show?" And it's like, today's the day, today's
That's
the day."
amazing. Like, what are the chances? You're
I know,
amazing.
I know. So I'm also watching UK versus the World, which is basically like All Stars, but not all in the US. And so
Mm.
they have queens from France and Spain. And sadly, Canada was not invited this time, which I just think is a little bit rude. Like, come on, bring a Canadian in, but whatever.
Right.
They brought a couple of US ones in. They brought 4 from the UK. 2 episodes down. The first episode, I was so excited that Mayhem Miller was on. She's an American queen. She's been on a couple of different seasons and she's incredible. And she got kicked off in the first episode because it's the
Wow.
queens that are kicking each other off. And I was like, "Oh,
Brutal.
holy shit." Like, one of the strongest queens got knocked out in the first episode. So it's clearly not the best friends race. And I don't know if it's because it's the first year that there's been any kind of a UK series with money attached to it.
Money. Root of all evil.
Right. So the other thing that I thought was really interesting though, because so they were doing a talent show episode. And I mean, to be fair, Mayhem did the worst because she forgot her lines. But
Mm.
as they were getting ready for it, she talked about how she couldn't do her usual, like, big energetic thing. She had to come up with a whole different concept because she had long COVID.
Mm.
And I think that's the first time I've seen a celebrity, like, just say that out loud and directly express that on a TV show and talk about having to adjust how they would normally do their job
Mhm.
because they have long COVID. So, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, and frankly, as someone who's kind of been there, I'm all better now, but I had it that for when I got that really nasty case of COVID,
Mhm.
I kind of wonder if she might have forgotten her lines because of brain fog,
Probably.
right? Like, it
That's a real
can be
thing. Yeah.
a real thing. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that they included that because I think it's important as much as we're not living the pandemic life anymore. I
Mhm.
think it's good for us to be reminded that, like, anyone can be affected by that. We don't
Right.
know. So it's a thing to be aware of and to be compassionate with the folks around us, especially if they're going through it. So those are the drag races. I finished Baldur's Gate 3. It was very, very good. I loved it so much I started it immediately all over again. And here's the thing, because you can create your own character, which is
Right.
what I did the first time. And
Mhm.
I made the weirdest looking character ever in the land. I love them so much. They're my little non-binary bard. And their romance was with Karlach, this big, gigantic barbarian tiefling. She looks like a big old devil woman. She's stunning. People who know her love her. And then I thought, what if I just play as Karlach next time?
Oh, look at
And
that.
so that's what I'm doing. I'm running around as this big, beefy barbarian woman. And like, I think the thing that I love about playing her is because she's a barbarian, yes, she can intimidate, she can yell at people, she can whatever, but I think ultimately she's a very hopeful character. And she's a very positive character. And so it's very fun that it's like, hey, we're in this apocalyptic situation, but I'm alive and I'm happy to be alive. So yeah, I really like playing as her. And then I read a book. You might have heard of it. It's called Forever by Kris Bryant.
I have heard of it.
Heard of it. So I finally got around to reading it. And it's so funny because for whatever reason, I just hadn't. Well, probably it was that whole I've talked before about how I just didn't read very
Right.
much for a while. And now as I'm catching up on things, and hopefully it's not too weird, we're going to talk about it a little bit because maybe there's some people who haven't read it yet. But speaking of dating shows, this is your dating show reality romance. It's like The Bachelorette,
Yes.
but sapphic. And it was, I have to admit, I was a little heartbroken for Savannah at first because
I
she's
know.
invited back on this show and she was on the first season and she had been humiliated because
Big
she
time.
fell in love. And like nobody likes the person who humiliated her at all. But she's asked to come back and she ends up falling for the host of the show, Lauren. And I really liked how that happened because Lauren was like, yeah, I get that you're lonely. Let's like, I'll come talk to you every so often. But then, every so often turns into every day. And then they both develop feelings in the hearts and the pants. And so that there's a lot of side characters, of course, because it's, a reality show romance. There's all the contestants that are trying to fall in love with Savannah. I can see why you're giving Alex their own book, though.
Yeah.
Like, what is not to love about them? They're so, so sweet and earnest and lovely. I'm not going to get into all my feelings about all the side characters, but there were some that I loved, and there were some that I would love to punt off a cliff.
Yes, because that is the true scene of, I have seen so many reality dating shows, obviously, because we just talked about one. But I thought it would be so much fun to write this book. And it came out last year, the year before, I don't remember. It's been a little bit. And I just thought it's so much fun, like to write a dating show book, and then try to keep it, because there are people who are just in it for the celebrityness of it. There are some people who are in it for love, and there are some people who are just in it to see what happens. And I feel like I have several characters that fall under each of those categories.
Yeah, I think it was just a really fun, quick read. Like I think I read it in 2 evenings or something like that.
Nice. Thank you.
And I really appreciated that it wasn't angsty. It was like big time page turn. I was like, okay, come on, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? I did not skip to the end.
Thank you.
Not once.
Nice.
Actually, I texted this to Kris because every so often she's like, I can't believe you read the ends of books. And then I realized something because yes, I always read the ends of books, including romances, because I had to, because I felt like my brain felt like I was going to die if I didn't do it. And then I mostly stopped reading for a while. And in that time, I was diagnosed with ADHD and I started taking medication for it. And then it turns out that now that I'm reading books again, I mostly don't skip to the ends of books anymore.
You
I
don't
think
have
I
to.
just needed the medication so that my brain didn't think I was going to die if I didn't check.
Yeah, so I'll always have a good ending. You know that.
I do know that. And I mean, here's the funny thing. I only ever check on romances. I don't check on a mystery because the whole point of, well, here's what I think. Because like on the rare occasion that I'm going to read a mystery, well, I'm not going to check the end of a mystery. That's the whole point, is to figure out who did whatever happened. The thing with the romance is I know it will have a happy ending, but I want to know what it looks like so that I feel okay about the thing that's giving me anxiety in the moment.
But I usually have low angst books. Like somebody once said I have angsty books. And I'm like, I don't really think so.
Really?
Do I?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Okay, good. Because I was like, were you the one? No, you weren't the one. But I
Maybe
don't really
no,
think
it wasn't me.
I don't have angst in my books. Not really. I mean,
No.
some of them might
Your
have a
friends
little
do.
bit. Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Some of your friends super I mean, how many times do we see Melissa Braden on social media practically cackling because she's about to write a painful scene
She
for her
is about to,
characters?
yeah, stab some hearts there for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't find glee in that. So,
No.
as a matter of fact, I really don't have a dark moment in the book that I'm writing now for Alex. Perfect.
Yay.
I
Good.
know. It's the first
We
time
only
I've done
want
this, so we'll see. Yeah, first time.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about that one.
Thank you.
And if you weren't my co-host, it would probably be my official recommendation, but it's a little
Yay!
weird to have your official recommendation be something
It's
from your co-host.
weird.
So
It's
we're just talking
awesome.
about it.
Fair enough. Thank you. I'm glad that you read it. Thank you.
Kris,
Yes.
what's your official recommendation this week?
So my official recommendation is somewhat a little weak, but it's still important and it's right up my alley.
All
Are you
right.
ready? Okay,
Yeah.
it's ISS, which
I don't know
is
this.
International Space Station. Still
Woo.
nothing? No, okay.
No.
It has absolutely everything I like. So let me read the little blurb. Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station when a worldwide conflict breaks out on Earth. Soon, the US and Russian astronauts each receive orders from the ground. Take control of the station by any means necessary. What?
Why does it feel like
Right?
something that could happen
Well,
relatively soon?
I
But
mean, it is
also,
possible.
yeah, I'm not going to dwell on it. Okay. What
Right.
else happens?
Okay, so like I said, like the queerdom is light in this, but that's what also makes it great.
Okay.
Okay, so stick with me. Ariana DeBois? Ariana
Dubois.
DeBois? Dubois? Is it Dubois? DeBois. Dubois.
It depends. Like if you're saying
Yeah,
it the French way, it's Dubois.
DeBois.
But I think like when you're talking about that very famous
That's the
person
one.
from American history,
Yes.
it's W.E.B. Du Bois, I think is how you say his name.
DeBois. No, I don't know.
Okay, so Ariana D.
Ariana, yeah, Ariana D. She made history as the first Afro-Latina openly queer actor of color to win an Oscar for Anita in West Side Story just a couple years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I'm
she
pretty
was
sure I talked
good.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
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 So she plays Dr. Kira Foster, who is an astronaut who joins the other astronauts for the first time, who are already at the ISS. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She is a former Marine and a biologist working on test replacement organs on rats. Okay,
Okay.
that's like her assignment. Okay. So here's the thing. So she, like, it's her first time in space, or at least that's kind of the vibe you're given, is it's the first time. At least it's the first time in the ISS. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she's looking out the window and she's like, it's so beautiful. At first everybody looks out the window and then like they go do their work. And then like day by day, she does this. And so one day she's looking out and she sees some sort of an eruption and she thinks it's a volcano. And she's like, hey guys, come look at this. What is this? And then all of a sudden there are a lot of other eruptions and they figured out that nuclear war happens on Earth.
Okay, again,
That's supposed to be a
this is feeling
moment.
slightly too real, but okay, go
Yes,
on.
yes. Okay, so when you look at the picture from what they see, like half of the Earth is like an orangey red color because it's like gone. It's not gone. It's just in fire. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other half is blue, because like part of the world didn't get blown up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very scary. And they can't reach anybody on Earth. And the last communication that both sides, received was to take the ISS. The Russians had to
Mm-hmm.
take it from the Americans and the Americans had to take it from the Russians, et cetera, et cetera. And basically whoever controls the ISS wins the war, because one of the things they are researching is how to survive exposure to radioactivity. And they actually have like some sort of cure up there. And so whoever like gets control gets the research.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like this whole thing. So it kind of shows you like what lengths people will do to stay alive, at what lengths people will do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, does humanity win? Does good beat out evil? It's a whole thing. There's like a whole bunch of different, it's very, very, for a simplistic sci-fi thriller that was shot during the pandemic, there are very few people, but it speaks volumes. Like you learn, it's a layer by layer type thing. You're really
Mm-hmm.
seeing like people and humanity and what happens when Like, you don't know that you have a place to go back to, because they can't reach anybody. What do you do? What would you do? That's horrific. That's just an awful feeling. So it was funny because Deb's like, okay, that movie's not going to end well.
I was about to say, so how does it end?
She is not wrong, but there's hope. So there is, it's kind of a hopeful ending. I feel like, okay, I had good feelings about it. So.
Is it kind of like the ending of Rogue One?
It is not.
Okay. So not everybody dies in the end.
Not everybody dies in the end.
Only for the plans to be handed over.
Yeah. So not everybody dies.
Okay. Well, that's good.
There are some people who die. But not everybody dies.
I feel like there has to be at least some people who die. And is there one person that lives?
Look at you. You're trying to draw out information. So yeah,
I knew you wouldn't let me try it.
I know.
That's why I like to do it at this point. I'm like, okay,
nope, I'm not gonna she's not
gonna tell us. So how about I just ask and then she can rebuke me about
it. No, you cannot know. So the reasons why I love this movie, I made a list this time. Okay. Ooh. So the queerness is normalized. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love a good queer celebration, yes. But ultimately the goal is to be on equal fields. And this movie does this. It really does. So, like, if you blinked or ran into the kitchen for a snack, you would have missed it. You would have missed the very crucial point in this. One of the American astronauts straights her and she's like, no. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And that's it.
I love
that. There's one little sentence where she explains the relationship, like super short sentence. And that's it. They move on. So it was great.
A good incidental queer person.
Yes, exactly. So, and it's directed by a woman. And I can't even pronounce her name if I tried. Gabriella Cowperthwaite. Yeah, it's a super long word. I'm trying. It's sci-fi. It's apocalyptic. I mean, it's action. It's thriller. It's a nail biter. It was everything I want in a movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, at first I was like stressed about what am I going to talk about? What am I going to, recommend? And then I was like, I'm just going to watch this movie because it looks good. I was like, I'm a queer person. Oh my God, it's her. So there was a lot going on. So I was like, this is perfect. Everything is good. So that, so I recommend it. I thought it was very, if you're like me and you like the action thriller thing, I love those movies.
I recommend it for
Neil
that. Does. So.
See, yeah. So tell Neil that, like, he needs to watch it because it's cool. Yeah. And I like the research that she's doing. And just like to see like how fast humanity, how fast humans will turn on each other. I mean, and then also, do you do what you're told or do you do what you think is right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of philosophical questions that come from watching this movie. So I feel like you should watch it. I'm going to recommend it for you and for everybody listening. So
I give you a solid maybe. It depends on if I remember.
I know how to reach your husband, so I'll put that in his ear.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Hey. So that is my official recommendation. What is yours, Tara?
So my official recommendation is a brand new baby rom-com from one of my favorite authors, Lee Winter. It's called Vengeance Planning for Amateurs. By the time this episode comes out, the book will have been out for a couple of weeks, I think. The story is mostly told from the perspective of Olivia Roberts. She's probably one of the nicest people on the whole planet, but some people, including her sister, would say that she's too nice because her exes keep screwing her over. Tina is the latest one. Tina is an addict who kept stealing from her and selling her things so that she could buy drugs. But Olivia kind of finally finds her last straw of, I will not be taken advantage of anymore, or I will not be treated like shit anymore, because she gives Tina another chance, only for Tina to steal the one thing that Olivia cares about most in the world, which is a stuffed penguin.
Oh my gosh.
Named Trip. And she got it from her late grandmother, who is
How much money can you get from a stuffed penguin?
Here's the thing. I will cut off my own synopsis to get into this with you.
Okay.
Because I have to admit, when I saw the cover, because the cover has, the penguin, it has this.
I'm looking it up. I haven't seen the cover.
It has a van with like muffins on it because Olivia is also, she's a baker and she's like an award-winning baker because of her muffins. They're so good. But I was like,
Yes, they
oh,
are.
know about. Okay. And then when there was the penguin, I was like, I don't know. But also, like I said, Lee Winter's one of my favorite authors. So I
Right.
was like, I'm just gonna trust. I'm just gonna give her more trust than I might give an author that I know less well.
Okay, I see it now. I'm looking at it.
Like, it
I'm looking at
sounds
the cover.
nuts, the whole thing with the stuffed penguin being a part of it. I get
Right.
that it sounds nuts. I think it works because it's a rom-com, but also there are things that happen in the story that actually it ends up making way more sense.
Ah, okay.
And I can't say what any of it is, or it gets into spoiler territory, but it was one
Mm.
of those, I was like, come on, this is too much. And then I'm reading and I was like, huh, she really did make it make sense. Okay. Here we are. So, yes, this is the one thing. Well, she got the van from her grandmother as well, but,
Oh.
her ex didn't steal the van, she stole the penguin. And so she's decided, that's it. I've had enough. I cannot believe these people have been so awful to me. So, like, if you look into her romantic history, she's identifies as a lesbian now, but the first couple people she dated were men, and then she dated a couple women. And she's decided, I need to get revenge against Tina and the others. They have hurt me, they have wronged me. But she also knows that she's not mercenary enough to be able to get an appropriate level of vengeance for what they've done to her. And to be fair, some of it was terrible. Like, her other
Oh.
girlfriend, she basically took all of Olivia's life savings
Oh my
to pay
gosh.
for
See,
school. And
that
then
pisses
it
me
was
off.
always like, this is a loan. And
Ugh.
then it's like, and she hasn't paid her back $32,000. Like, what? That's just one example. There's the other two are also not good at all. I'm not going to get into those.
Oh
Um,
no.
but she decides, I need to hire a henchman. This is the only way for me to get this done. I have to hire a hench person. And so she runs a book club. It's a weekly book club in this crime fiction focused bookstore. And
Mhm.
so she posts something in there, and all these people who are not going to work out at all apply. And then Dr. Margaret Blackwood
Mm.
applies. Dr. Margaret Blackwood is the owner of the bookstore. She is an expert in his, because this takes place in Australia. It's a very Australian book.
Mm-hmm.
But she is an expert in, like, historical Australian outlaws. And she says, I'm bored. I'll be your hench person.
I'll do it.
Who
Yeah.
could be better than me? And of course, Olivia is shocked that Dr. Blackwood would put her name forward. She rarely, if ever, leaves her office. Olivia had only recently kind of even seen her in person. Like, it's just this total shock. And she never talks to anybody in the store, but kind of is like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Who else would be the person to do this? And so they spend more time together. The more they influence each other, the more possible it seems that Olivia will definitely get her revenge,
Mm.
and Margaret will maybe
Yes.
start going out and being a part of the world again.
Mm.
And that again part is pretty crucial
Mm.
story too. I was, in addition to being nervous because of the whole penguin thing, I was nervous about this just because I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with rom-coms is
Okay.
as books.
Hmm.
More than movies. I tend to like them better as movies, but with books, I feel like I either love them or I hate them. And I don't really know which one I'm going to get, because often I think they just feel too slapstick or too ridiculous. And the romance doesn't get invested in enough because so much is invested in the comedy. Like, it has to have enough balance so
Oh
that the
yeah.
romance
Mm-hmm.
is satisfying for it to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually ended up loving this book so much. Like, so, so much. So it's mostly told, like I said, it's mostly told from Olivia's perspective. And so we see, it's not first person, but like we see how little confidence she has. She's deeply wounded. She really just wants someone to love her for herself, to want her, to want to
Mm-hmm.
be her partner. But as Margaret is talking to her and learning her story and finding out the reasons why she wants vengeance against these four people, and Olivia sees the reactions that Margaret's having, there's this like, oh, I'm not crazy for thinking it's not okay that they treated me this way. Oh, I do deserve to be treated better. And you see that confidence
Good.
start to
Yeah.
build up. And I think that's really beautiful, and I loved seeing as she's like, "No, I am worth something," and seeing as she comes to understand her worth and to value that and learns how to have boundaries, and I just thought, so spectacular, really, really wonderful. But Margaret is my favorite character, so even the book isn't told from her perspective.
Yeah, she
um
sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
my god, she's like, not only is she badass, she's very witty, very dry wit, very cutting with the things that she has to say. And when we see her at first we don't even really see her. We first find out about her because when Olivia's having her book clubs, she hears these little comments because Dr. Blackwood leaves her office door open and she won't come out and join the book club, but she'll just like say these things kind of interjecting. And so it's like, who is this person? What is she like? And we get her perspective in little bits though, because like, yes, we get them through what Olivia sees, but at the end of most chapters, we get Margaret's diary entries for that day,
Mm,
which I
okay.
thought was a really clever way of pulling in another perspective. It also means that we get most of the book is in third person, but those little bits are in first person because it's somebody writing in their own
Right.
diary. And we realize there's so much more to her than what Olivia knows, especially at first. I went into it wondering, like, is Margaret's an ice queen, right? Isn't she an ice queen? Lee Winter always writes ice
Right.
queens.
Right.
I actually don't think she is an ice queen. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but I feel like the information is delivered fairly early on in the book, and therefore it's kind of a fair enough. And it's really difficult to talk about Margaret without talking about it. So sorry. I mean, this is an unequivocal recommendation. So you're going to find out anyway when you pick up this book. But Margaret was widowed a few
Mm,
years prior. And I think that's really kind of key to the whole staying in her office, not wanting to talk to people so much, not being a part of the crowd. And so the fact that she puts her hand up to like be this hench person is huge.
mm,
And so she also goes on her own massive journey. And that's
nice.
where I
Yeah.
think she's not an ice queen, she's grieving. But in addition to grieving, I do think she also knows her worth. At one point in her diary, she writes, "Not everyone deserves access to me."
Mm, I like that.
I think that is such a powerful line. And I think most of us could benefit from
Right.
coming to understand that we don't have to give everything of ourselves to everyone who asks it,
Hmm.
because not everyone does deserve to have access to us.
Right.
And I think also, so I wanna say, I don't think she's an ice queen, I think she might be a cat, which I don't think is a designation for
Hmm.
human characters, but she is very prickly, but it's also that she's choosy. And so I really love there's another diary entry where she's extremely weirded out because Olivia called her kind one day, like, "Oh, I just think it was really kind of you to whatever." And in
Mm,
her diary, she's like, "I'm not kind. I'm just protective of the people in my immediate orbit that are worthy of my time and attention." And I was
mm.
like, "Oh, you're a fucking cat is what you are. You're not an
Yeah,
ice
you're
queen.
right. Yeah,
You have
that's
standards. You're
that's
just piggy."
cats.
And I thought, the diary entries added so much more nuance than I would have guessed,
Mhm.
especially considering how little a percentage of the page count they take up, because we're really talking anywhere from like 2 to 6 pages at
Oh,
the end
wow.
of a
Yeah. Hmm.
chapter. That would have
Oh,
been many,
okay.
many more pages. But I think that's what really allows us to see Margaret as this, like, very layered character who is going through something, and that helps us understand why she behaves in certain ways, because Olivia just wouldn't have known enough at that point. And so I think it actually keeps the romance balanced and allows the comedy to work in all the places where it's used.
Clever.
Yeah, it's so
Very
good. It's
clever.
so
Yeah,
good.
it sounds very clever.
There's one scene, I can't talk about it without getting into spoilers, but like it had such a massive emotional impact. Like I felt it in my body.
Mm.
I would not have expected that. Again, I wouldn't have expected that in a rom-com. I thought it would just be like, it's just light, and I'm just kind of laughing all the way through. But
Right.
because this is a book that deals with
Mm.
grief
Mhm.
and frankly, I would say maybe like borderline abuse for some of how Olivia was she was treated. We could call it mistreatment,
Ugh.
whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, right? Like because it deals with these heavy things. Somehow, though, the balance stays there, and there was just so much more depth than I would have expected. And I think by now you probably know I love to be surprised by a book. I just do. I love when a book goes to a place that I don't expect and it works. And this is one of those books that does it. It was also like laugh out loud funny sometimes. I have a quote for you.
I love it.
So the thing to know going into this, because it's going to reference Emma. Emma is a 9 or 10-year-old girl. She comes and she hangs out at the bookstore after school. It's kind of an arrangement that the mom and
Oh,
the
okay.
store have, that it's okay. That's a safe place for her to go after school for a couple of hours. She's a really good kid, wicked smart, big time reader. And so Margaret has been giving her different books to read to kind of like help with her literary education. And this part I loved, especially as a Canadian, when you keep in mind that like Lucy Maud Montgomery is one of our national historical treasures of all time. Meanwhile, Emma loved Anne of Green Gables and asked about the sequels. I had to break it to her that they deserved to be catapulted into the sun. And it was just so
Perfect.
perfect because also it's so
True.
true. Oh, I read them all when I was, probably around grade 6, grade 7. It was like that one, incredible. The rest,
Everything else. Yeah.
not so much. I mean, also, let's be real. I think the reason Chelsea Cameron rewrote them as a sapphic couple in her book, Who We Could Be, is because it should have been Anne and Diana all along.
But they couldn't make it that
Everybody
way.
knows. So yes, in conclusion, I adored this book. I will definitely reread it. It might be my current favorite from Lee Winter, but I always refuse to choose favorites from her list because I always feel like that's the rudest question anyone can ask of me. Occasionally somebody
I
will say,
hate
"What's your
it.
favorite?" I'm like, that's rude. Don't ask me that. I don't know, but I loved it. It's Vengeance Planning for Amateurs, which I think is also a hilarious title.
Yeah. Because
That's
when I was
it.
typing it, I was like, what is this title? Why is this? Oh, this is hilarious. Like the title
Right?
alone is hilarious. Like, I get it.
She said something on Facebook about it being her first rom-com on purpose, which then got me kind of interested. And I thought, I wonder if her first book, The Red Files, was kind of an accidental rom-com that nobody pegged at the time. Because that book is also very funny and quirky and excellent, but it's hard to nail that one down with a genre. But I'm not here to recommend that book, although I would because I love it. It's one of my favorites. Okay. I feel like I can keep rambling and I got to
Yes.
stop. So that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the show and you haven't subscribed yet, please do on your podcast app so you will know whenever we release an episode. Like I said before, if you have a friend that you think would like us, please tell them all about Queerly Recommended. And if you'd like to support us, we do have links in our show notes to our coffee and our newsletter sign up.
Or if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, we have links in the show notes for that as well. Or you can just search for Queerly Recommended on most of the social media sites or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Wow, I said that almost surly. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Get out. No.
Oh, we forgot to mention that it was a Monday night.
Well,
but I think we kept it together pretty well.
I think people might have figured it out by now.
You think so?